Hey again, friends. Welcome again to Tactical Enlightenment. You are watching our expert series of tactics. This series of videos is designed to show you some of the most difficult situations I encountered in my campaign and then deployed extremely difficult, highly coordinated tactics to overcome those obstacles. This series of 8 videos should help anybody get from the intermediate stage and turn you into a fully fledged warlord where you can then dominate your world in Bannerlord. Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. For those who don't know yet, our channel is dedicated to helping players improve their skill at Bannerlord and their field command using advanced tactics. We're upping it a notch in this episode. This is part of our expert tactics series. This is going to be a fight against Britannia, and I've been itching to have a fight where I don't do anything. I know that seems strange, other than giving commands. I'm basically going to be like a conductor at an orchestra, just waving my sword or axe in the air and giving commands while the army does its thing. The battlefield that we're about to fight on, I'm very familiar with it because the enemy's attacked Varcheg over and over again in the last couple of years of game time, of course. And there's a nice hill that, as long as we can get to that hill, it's going to be the perfect spot for me to sit there, drink my coffee, like that badass leader of the bad guys in Avatar, and just decimate the enemy while I just sit there. So we're going to do normal player damage. You know, we're outnumbered 2 to 1, but that's nothing new. Anybody who's seen the channel before, we handle business like this on a regular basis. But what I am going to do is I'm going to wield a sword and a shield. Just in case anybody wants to attack me, I can just whip out my big shield and defend myself. So here's the ridge. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We're a little distance away, so we're kind of going to have to race there. But I think since I can position a little bit here on the left, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I can show you how to use cavalry. This fucking guy, Castor. This horrendous leader. Never mind, I won't go into a tangent on this fuck. He's just a horrendous leader. His army always loses. Anyways, I got distracted by that idiot. See, he fucks me over even when he's not leading. What we're going to do is we're going to use cavalry here to screen us. God, it's a beautiful game. I mean, even without the killing, like, I would play this game just for the beauty of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch the 3rd Cavalry out in a big, long line, and then we're going to stretch the 2nd Cavalry out in a parallel line, right? Not parallel so much, but end to end. And all those lines are for is basically to repel the enemy from making an aggressive charge to the same hill that we're charging to, right? Sometimes the enemy will come at you aggressively. If you line out cavalry like that, right? If you line out your heavy horse, my cavalry, that will highly suppress the enemy attack, right? It'll decrease the amount of their heavy horse that can get through. It'll deter their troops from moving up. It's kind of this aggressive move. But since they're holding their shield, they're largely protected from the archers and their javelins and whatnot that the enemy's probably throwing at them and trying to attack them with. I haven't seen a single casualty from these two shield wall lines, right? So in addition to giving us a nice safe passage to set up our forces here, it obviously didn't cost us a single troop. Now in this battle, we're actually going to use these lines extensively. You guys have seen me use them over and over again. If you're not using shield wall heavy horse like this on occasion, then frankly I think you're not playing your army to its full capacity. Now I wouldn't do this with Khazate very often, right? Maybe in certain unique circumstances, right? Most of the time their heavy horse is going to be attacking. But in this instance, like, it's perfect strategy. There's this gal. I know she has a weapon and she's just going to sit there. Alright, maybe she wants a coffee break too. Alright, so what we're going to do is, all I'm doing is sort of following their cavalry and making it so that they can't attack us, they can't get an angle on us, while our archers work on their archers. Now, why are our archers shooting and theirs are not? Because of range, right? When you're on a hill like this, you get more range. Not only are we kind of upslope with the enemy, but we're firing downhill, right? So they might be getting some shots off, but likely they're hitting our cavalry, right? They're probably hitting our horse, which again, actually I can see their darts hitting in the snow there, and it's having almost no effect. So we're going to make it worse for them. We're going to now flank. We're using that cavalry on the side there. I think that's the 2nd. and we're flanking them now with archers. And now you can see appropriately, finally, the enemy's taking action here, right? They're starting to move up. They're starting to get aggressive. I am going to use extensive slow-mo in this video. It might even drive some people crazy, but I want to be able to show these advanced tactics at very slow speeds. That way I can talk about it extensively, explain what's happening, and you can really get an idea of how effective this is. So 3rd Cavalry is now in a square, right? And the main purpose of that is twofold. First, if the enemy attacks with their infantry, it's going to be largely useless against that square. They can kill some of the guys on the outside, but that's 90 horse that are all packed up together. The guys in the middle are like almost invulnerable, right? There's horses in between them, there's shields. And on the left flank, we have a line of our 2nd Cavalry that I just dismounted. And again, you're probably wondering, why the fuck would you do that? Well, in this battle, I have hardly any infantry. And I'm facing, you can see the number there in the middle, 260 heavy infantry of the enemy, right? I'm outnumbered, and because I had so many heavy horse to start the fight, I don't have enough infantry to deal with this huge infantry block. So there's multiple ways we're combating this. First, we're forcing them through this little notch here. I don't know if you can see it. I might even eventually give this overall tactic visage a name, and we'll call it, some kind of like funneling the enemy to death or something like that. But that heavy horse over there, those guys that were dismounted, what that's doing is protecting that infantry as it backpedals, as it gets out of there, but it's also deterring the enemy cavalry because they can't charge. You can actually see them jammed up over there on the horse. They're trying to get in, but this big 100 horse block is preventing those horses from getting in there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to collapse on this infantry vanguard, right? It's 217 guys. The number's dwindling rapidly. They're attacking the cavalry square, but we're going to attack it with that 2nd Cavalry. That's the guys that I just pulled in. We're going to attack it with the 6th, 8th, and then there's one guy in the 1st. I'd say the 1st Infantry, but it's one dude. So this is 4 divisions, including that 2nd Cavalry that just dismounted, right? Those guys are running towards the screen. And all of those units just attacked at probably the 120 or so Battanian infantry that got through that little funnel, right? You can see some of the guys are kind of squished up on the square as well. But the infantry that made it in, they're now being attacked on 3 different sides, right? They have my elite 8th Corps smashing them in the face. My skirmishers are in there. The 2nd Corps. Well, okay, so honestly, it's really 3 divisions because there's one guy in my 1st Infantry, but it's still, it's a 3-sided attack by 3 different units, and you can see the death span. It's almost entirely the enemy dying. Again, they're surrounded. Oh shit, I just got hit by a javelin. I guess I got to be a little more careful. I was just going to enjoy my coffee here. In fact, I got enemy all around me. I'm still going to try to sit here and explain stuff. That guy just got killed. I think my troops will do a decent enough job protecting me. So the enemy infantry, one of the big reasons this tactic is so effective is their infantry wave got completely broken up. Out of their 280 guys that came in, and I better explain this too. The 3rd Infantry that was in a square, I'm now sending it forward in a shield wall right in the face of the enemy archers. And I'm doing that because I don't want those archers, see how many Battanian Fiends and Champions are in there? I don't want them just having free reign to shoot. So what I'm doing is I'm sending 20,000 pounds of heavy horse, right? I still have this full cavalry division, right into their face, holding up shields. And then I probably will attack here, just given the layout of the battlefield. There's not much other threats. I can risk the heavy horse here. And so as soon as we get them close enough, we'll have them charge. And then those guys are rampaging now with their shields out right through the Battanian line. Meanwhile, the rest of the Battanians, you can sort of see them in the foreground here. They're disrupted by that big square, right? When they came in, finish the point from earlier, when they came in with 270 guys or whatever it was, only like half, look at the reinforcements popping up, only like half of those guys or less actually made it in. And the rest of them got destroyed in that funnel, right? So there's multiple benefits of that square. Not only did it protect all those units, but it broke up the big long enemy line and allowed us to just massacre them even though we were outnumbered. So now these retreating forces, where again, we're going to use this 3rd Cavalry. You see there's multiple uses. I'm bringing them back to us. They're in a wedge shape. Now that doesn't really do so much in such a short distance, but we're going to have them attack these reforming troops of the enemy. Our other forces are attacking them. The infantry's in there, the 3rd, the 6th, the 8th. There's the one guy of the 1st Infantry. I won't call him the 1st Infantry the whole fight, don't worry. But I just sent that 3rd Cavalry that went up and kind of fucking disrupted their archers, sort of knocked down their shooting ability, and then they just came back, and now they're committing more murder. Right now they're just ramming their spear up the asses of all these battalions that are trying to reform. So you can see there's multiple uses for the same cavalry division in a space of like 45 seconds. Now it was maybe 5 minutes of this video, but since it's slow-mo so often, like this has all happened, much faster in real time. So their troops are reforming. I still see some archers out there, but at this stage again, at a minimum, look at how many Battanian Fiends we have. I would say a quarter of my archers, or half even, are Battanian Fiends and Battanian Fiend champions. So at a minimum, we're playing, we have a nice fair shooting gallery. Look at this bitch, she's still standing next to me with no weapon. I swear she has weapons. Anyways, at a minimum, that's a nice neutral push for us, right? Like we're able to fend off their archers at range. My 8th Corps is shooting. I see one of my characters right behind me there shooting. And there's one other big advantage, again, we have, and that's the range, right? We can shoot further. We can shoot for more damage. Finally, I still have my 3rd Cavalry down there, and those guys are absorbing lots of arrows. I can see arrows flying into them, right? Those guys are doing like quadruple duty. They've been incredibly impactful in this battle. First they were a square, then they were attacking and screening against the Battanians. I guess initially in the battle they were screening, then they attacked the routing troops, now they're screening again. You can see there's just so many uses, right? So now the next infantry wave is coming in, and honestly it's kind of broken up. I think their reinforcement waves kind of came in piecemeal. Some of them, again, are attacking that 3rd Cavalry, right? They're going over there, they're distracted by those guys. But we're just going to mop up these guys. I see, maybe there's 100, yeah, well there's the number. There's 106 infantry. So we're going to attack with the 2nd Infantry, right? It's no longer cavalry. We're going to attack with the 6th, that's skirmishers, the 8th, and then again, the one guy in the 1st Infantry, he's still alive. That guy's an uncle of my character named Varag. I've featured him in some other videos. He's almost identical spec to my character, 330, two-handed. He's got javelins, like 280 throwing, and then of course he's high athleticism as well. So that infantry wave is being battered. That 3rd Cavalry at this stage, they're for sure all getting medals, right? Those guys are absorbing arrows still. I mean, they have Battanian Fiends shooting them right in the face, right? They're taking heavy losses. In fact, I'm going to start looking over my shoulder here before too long for reinforcements. Right? At some point, we're going to get reinforcements because we've finally had, about 40% losses in a battle like this is where you get reinforcements. They will almost always come in where you started the battle, right? So have an idea of where you started. And that's a hazard if you're traveling a long distance, by the way, to get to your enemy. I talk about that in other episodes. I'm letting this kind of play faster because it's a bit of a scrum. There's not a lot going on here besides my archers skirmishing. I need reinforcements really to do much more than just kind of skirmish. In fact, at this moment, we're in a little bit of a bad spot. The enemy has more people present. My reinforcements aren't in. A lot of our troops are injured. That heroic 3rd Cavalry finally faded, right? You can see all the horses and corpses of the guys at this stage. So I'm charging hard with the 6th, 8th, and the 2nd, basically trying to hold the enemy off, and again, looking over my shoulder every once in a while to see where the fuck the reinforcements are. But your reinforcements come in roughly where you started, right? They should be coming in soon. And if you travel 600 or 700 yards, right, the little units of distance to get to the enemy in a battle like this, you're going to be disappointed because your reinforcements are going to come in literally a half a mile or a mile away. And if you're in a perilous spot like we are right now and you're a mile away from your reinforcements, you're dead. You're going to get annihilated. All your troops are dead. You have no chance of saving any of them unless you completely just pull a full retreat. That's a tongue twister. Oh, here they finally are, these fucking guys. So in this case, though, we're close enough that I'm going to be able to rally these reinforcements and bring them up. I'm still sitting on my mountainside, my little hillside here. I'm still drinking my coffee. You know, I've got a nasty javelin and my shoulder kind of hurts, but for the most part, you know, I'm having a great day. It's a beautiful sunset or sunrise or whatever the fuck this is. So you see what I'm doing also. I'm bringing my infantry reinforcements in line formation. That's a critical thing for people to understand. Units will move in based on what the previous units were assigned. So I had my 6th Infantry, my 2nd Infantry in shield wall when they were fighting. I do that because of the archers, I guess, especially against the battalions. When you get reinforcements, though, you want them to get here quickly. And units move much slower when they're in shield wall. So those guys are largely out of arrow range. So I'm bringing them up in a hurry. I got some guys in my face here again. Fuck you. I might have to kill a guy or two just because they're irritating me. I'm going to try not to. We're just going to try to be the brains of this battle and not swing a sword. But I got to be honest, folks. I itch to swing a sword like people hunger to eat Doritos after smoking pot. Like, it's hard for me to not. Look at this fuck. Just swinging his sword at me. Fuck you. Alright, so the point is, though, is you want to bring your reinforcements in quickly. So don't bring them in a shield wall until they're close. Or at least close enough that they're threatened by the enemy archers. So I've got kind of a mishmash here because I told them to attack. But I've got a decent infantry block. They're coming in a little bit slow. And I'm going to be able to line up more archers on this hill, right? They're doing a really good job of wiping out the battalions that were sort of surging in. I still see members of my 8th and 6th Corps down there. So my elite units, at least some of them are doing a good job. They're probably injured. Some of them are probably about to drop. But these reinforcements are just chewing up this enemy wave, right? Here comes more reinforcements, right? And more enemy reinforcements. I got a beautiful vantage point to watch them come in. And at some point or other, I want to get my archers up on this hill as well and reform an infantry line, kind of like it was before. Out in front, we have 2 different infantry lines, the 6th and the 1st, or it's actually the 2nd, the 6th and the 2nd. And we're going to spread these out and make an angle out of them so that, again, we can get flanking fire on the enemy so that we can close in on them. Okay, those guys are out of arrows. You see those battalion fiend champs? When I zoomed in, they're all holding their sword, and those guys are on fire at will. What that tells you is that they're out of ammo. So again, in a really long battle like this, your archers, well, they're no longer archers, folks. If you have archers that don't have ammunition, they are infantry. In many cases, they're weak infantry, but at least a lot of these are battalion fiend champs. Of course, my 8th Corps, those guys are itching to get their hands on their sword, right? Some of these guys have 300 plus two-handed skill, right? So they're going to go fuck people up in battle. But what I'm doing here is I'm sending in the heaviest infantry. That's the reinforcements, that 2nd Corps. And I'm flanking. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm actually flanking with my archers. I'm sending them physically into the enemy, right? You can actually see them pointing their numbers down there. I've got the 6th Corps over here on the right. And now I'm telling those archers to attack. And look at them go to work with their 2-hand. I see even at this distance, I could see them ripping limbs off. So now those battalion fiend champions, now they're doing extra duty, right? They shot people to pieces with their arrows, and now they're frothing at the mouth with their 2-handed weapon, and they have like 250 2-handed skill, right? They're amazingly powerful at 2-handed. And now they're on the flanks of the enemy, just going crazy in there, right? So the enemies, if they're not going to be obliterated by this wave, they're going to be, yeah, they're being obliterated. Look at them charging down. They're running down like they had too much coffee. Kill them, boys. You can actually hear them yelling in there. Yeah, kill them. Right, and one of the keys to that is we recognize that our archers don't have ammo. So we're using them as infantry instead of them just having standing there getting shot in the face with arrows. We're using them behind our other infantry and on the flank where they're not getting shot in the face full of arrows. And we envelop that enemy wave, and it's gone now too. More reinforcements coming in. They just vaporize the enemy right there. Stretching out the next infantry line. Looks like it's the 6th now. The reinforcement waves kind of change on you. I actually have some of those battalion fiend champs just like in a heroic death surge down there. I'm not going to be able to retreat them at this point. They're kind of surrounded by, you know, what is that, like 300 or 400 enemy right there. But all those guys, you know, we'll give them the best houses in our enemy's territory when we take over and all that kind of good stuff, right? All those guys will get a medal. You know, they'll have hot wives because they'll get promoted. It's going to be a good situation for those guys for being so heroic. Look at them in there, still they're still rampaging and they're swinging their sword. it's important to remember too that the enemy has gone through like 4 waves. So part of the reason that they're just decimating still people with their two-handed weapons, they're kind of lightly armored. Part of the reason they're still wasting people is that the enemy is down to its like 3rd-tier troops, right? It's down to, I mean, you can see the guys dying, trained warriors. You know, it's down to weak troops, weakish troops. Anyways, it's not the lowest level troops, but it's pretty weak. Interrupting myself real quick. So I've got my infantry line, and again, over here on the right flank, that's the 8th flank on the left. On this right flank, I have archers elevated, and they're just shooting over the head of a shield wall infantry line, right? That infantry at the bottom is protecting themselves with shields. I got this little bodyguard behind me. And this infantry is just preventing the enemy from charging into my archers while these archers just absolutely lay waste to the enemy. Right? I actually see like 3 Battanian Fiend champs down there still frothing at the mouth. So look at the death span, right? And I can charge with this infantry line, but I don't want it to. I want those guys leaving a gap for my archers to shoot over their head like this, right? Those archers are doing the killing right now. You can look at the death spam, sharpshooter, crossbowman, wildling. I mean, it's mostly archers, right? And now we're just moving in. I told you sometimes I just can't. I can't help myself. I've got this two-handed sword. It looks savage. We're going to cut off a few heads here. And also what I'm trying to do at this stage is make the enemy rout. I think at this stage the enemy is to the point where... Oh, I just dropped my sword. The enemy's to the point where it won't take much for them to rout. So we're going to fly in here with this savage-looking thing. I could two-hand this fucking thing. It's one- or two-handed. And I think we can make them rout. We'll see. They may turn on us still for another round, but I'm still going to fly in here. Even though I tried to not fight. Like I said, it's difficult. I still got all my javelins, right, so we can blow some of these guys up. Yeah, you keep running with your... That went right through the guy. That was wild. This guy right in the neck, dude. I can practice some of my bad javelin skills. I swear my javelin skills are getting worse the more I play. I know that seems funny. It's a new computer. I'm playing with like some new systems, so... 338 damage that guy took, so he's got like an elite lord, like incredibly high skills for him to have those kind of hit points. Get some more javelins. This enemy's out of here. Anyways, hopefully that was enough tactics jammed into a nice slow-mo episode. You know, if people are not a fan of the slow-mo, you know, you can just skip it. That's the beauty of it. That's why I have slow-mo in the title. I think it's highly beneficial, though, for people who've watched the videos and they say, I can't really understand what's going on. There's too much going on. It's too hard for me to command 8 units. You know, we're doing the slow-mo as an instructional video, right? It is a beautiful battle scene. And I am going to have plenty of battles that sort of appear cinematic, because I do have quite a few people who say they love the sort of cinematic, huge battles. We're running now with 4K graphics, right? It's just a beautiful scene, and the graphics in the game are just outstanding, right? But we're still going to do tactics, and I want to teach people ultimately. I've got a long line of teachers in my family. My mother was an English teacher. I had a great-grandfather that was a professor in England. Yeah, professor in great-great-grandfather or great-great... Anyways, ancestor who's a professor in England. I've got just teaching in my blood, as well as a little bit of warfare, and so this is like a perfect amalgamation of the skills that I have to offer. My plan with this channel, my plan on here with each episode, if I can, is to basically, as I just have a little fun here at the end, they've all been routed. My plan with this channel is to teach people in a way where they barely realize that they're being taught. Like I read that in a book years and years ago, and it's always stuck with me. It said one of the best ways to teach people is to basically have them not realize that they're learning, right? Because learning, there has this connotation that it's unfun. What the fuck is this? There's Battanian Fiend champions way back here. I'm gonna get killed if I'm not careful. Right in the head there, dude. I'm gonna have a little target practice. So there's this connotation with learning that, you know, people don't like school, they skip school, they don't want to go to college, they don't want to listen to some professor lecture. So we're going to try to do this in a way that's entertaining, And I understand that telling you that I'm trying to trick you into learning defeats the purpose. You know, I presume most people won't watch this episode, but the idea is to learn without realizing. Let's see if I can get killed here at the end. Be ignominious. The idea is to sort of have you learn, have people learn on the channel without realizing they're learning, and that will be like the most effective way to teach people how to play this game well. I don't think we're going to play out the rest of this. The enemy's getting reinforcements kind of in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, hopefully that episode is highly beneficial for people trying to get to an expert level of tactics. I mean, you're commanding 8 different units, and you're doing all kinds of things with them. You need to have a lot of experience to do that. There's a series that I made for people who aren't quite up to that level. So check it all out. Subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate all the comments, including the criticism, folks. I'm old. I'm tough-skinned. You know, unless you're just on here to clown me and be a troll, I don't need. I hope nobody's gonna be doing that. I'm a pretty nice guy. I don't think I'm deserving of that. But if you have criticism about how I play, or you can't hear me, or you want me to talk less, honestly, folks, just let me know. Like, I'm highly receptive to communication like that. So I appreciate all you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you fellas next time.